So today I want to talk about the influence that news has in the world of publication and through its various incarnations, such as print, radio, television, social media. Things that people put out from a news organization can influence the way their viewers can interpret information, and it can even sometimes change their mind from one aspect to the other. So here's a question for you. Do you believe in aliens? Do you believe that there's civilizations up there that are coming down to abduct us and our cattle and do crazy things? Would you believe it if the news station started reporting that aliens are coming down and abducting or harming people? Well, a couple of years back, there was a story that came out that the FAA responded to, had recordings that revealed two pilots reported an unidentified flying object. Was it alien? Was it human? They don't know. They just know that it was unidentified. So basically what had happened was there were two jets that were flying from the East Coast to the West Coast. And somewhere over the United States, I'm just going to say like New Mexico, the first plane was flying over, and they noticed that there was an object that was just kind of hovering off in the distance, not too far from the plane. And by the time they could kind of get a good look at it, they had already flown past it. So they called the FAA, they called the local tower, and they said, "Hey, we just spotted an unidentified flying object. It was positioned at this location." And the tower said, "Okay, there's another plane that's going to be about maybe 90 seconds behind you, and we'll get them to look when they fly by." And so they forwarded the information to the other plane, and they said, "Okay, we'll check it out." And sure enough, when that plane went by in the same area, they saw the same object, and they reported that yes, there was an object. It was just kind of staying in this one area. And they passed on. And so that started going into the news, and that started circulating the belief in UFOs, extraterrestrial activity. And it got some people to start thinking more and more about life up there. So, do you believe in it? If you were watching the television and also you saw that a report had just come out, and actually this one came out about a week ago, that the United States has declassified some files on what they called UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena. And in this report, they basically said that out of 144 reported cases of these unidentified aerial phenomena, they could only explain one. All the others, they could not come up with a rational explanation. They possibly attributed to maybe air conditions, clouds, atmospheric conditions, other things like that. But for the most part, they could not provide a solid answer. So now that this report has come out, that even the government is acknowledging that there are unidentified aerial phenomena that we have been able to identify, that again has started to cause a stir and a belief in something that a lot of people didn't really give a lot of credence or value to before: aliens. Now, what if you were looking at your phone or watching the news and you heard a report that aliens had just blown up the White House? Would you believe it? Would you suddenly go into a panic that aliens are here and come to destroy us? Or would you think, okay, this is not happening, this has got to be a joke or something like that, and then just ignore it and go on with the rest of your day, even though Fox News, ABC, NBC, CBS have reported that the White House just got blown up by aliens? Would you believe it? Maybe, maybe not. Have you ever heard of a book called The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells? It was adapted back in the 1960s, I think, for a radio play. And the concept of the story is aliens come down to invade Earth. They're here to wipe out all civilization and humankind so that they can take over. And then through a series of events, they wind up losing. But this was this was adapted from a written story, to a radio play. And this was put out by Orson Welles and his group of performers that every Sunday they would put on a radio performance of the play. And you kind of see in the background, you see there's a couple of people standing around a microphone with their scripts. You've got a conductor that's playing some music in the background, and each one of these people is an actor who's providing lines. So what they wound up doing was, for their Sunday performance as usual, they started playing they say, you know, this afternoon we're going to present to you an orchestra piece. So they started playing classical music, and then in the middle of this performance of music, they stopped and said, "We interrupt this broadcast for an emergency news bulletin. Aliens have landed, and they're destroying the planet." And so when this came out, people, we didn't have television at the time, so we couldn't provide video. All we had was radio, was the main means of distributing information and entertainment. And so people were starting to get in a panic. They heard aliens were coming. They interrupted a performance to bring it to you. So then people started panicking. They started going out into the streets. They had guns, and they were shooting guns up into the air in case the aliens were invisible, but guns might be able to hurt their ship or hurt the aliens. And so by halfway through this performance, the entire country was in a state of panic. So the Orson Welles and his group went into a commercial break, and when they came back out, they said, "Ladies and gentlemen, we hope that you are enjoying this performance of H.G. Wells' story, War of the Worlds. We'll now continue with our story." And then they proceeded again. They would play some music, and they would have another interruption of news stories. And the way they presented it was they went to reporters who were on locations, and reporters would describe what they were seeing, and they would tell people what they were observing from their perspective as a reporter. And then the radio play would say, "Thank you very much. We now go from this reporter to this reporter who has a perspective from another location." And again, this started causing a lot of chaos and pandemonium, and they had to go back again and explain, "Ladies and gentlemen, this was just a radio play." And so then they kind of got away from doing stuff like this, where they would present a entertainment and then pretend to break in with news. So yeah, people were outside with their guns, and they were shooting at the sky in hopes of stopping the aliens, all because of something they heard on the radio. Nowadays, we have social media, and you're able to get information from a multiple variety of locations and people, and it's not just news outlets. You can get information from one of your best friends down the street who can say, "Hey, I heard if you shoot at the sky, you can take a hurricane and push it in a different direction." So we've got Hurricane Elsa heading our way. And so someone said, you know, if you shoot your guns at Hurricane Elsa, you might push it a little more to the east, a little more to the west. And people would probably go out and say either, "Hey, you're crazy, that's not going to happen," or they may say, "You know what, let me give that a shot." Well, for Hurricane Irma down in Florida, this became a reality. There was a Florida man, out of stress or boredom or whatever reason, he started posting on social media that you can shoot your guns at the hurricane, and the velocity and the air pressure of the bullets and all that would cause the hurricane to shift its course and go away from Florida. It got to the point where other people were passing along the message, and people started shooting their guns into the air to change the direction of a hurricane. After a while, Pasco County Sheriff had to go on social media and tell people, "Please do not shoot your weapons at the hurricane. You won't make it turn around, and it can have very dangerous side effects, as your bullets will eventually come down. They're going to have to hit something." So that just can kind of go to show how the influence of media and social media can change people's perspectives, give them new insight, change the way they thought about something, or it could steer them into a potentially dangerous direction. And so this is kind of one of the sad things, that the only time people really fact check the news is when we have April Fool's Day, is they're not entirely sure if the information we're providing is accurate or not. But always, if you see something that seems a little strange to you, check it out. See if the source is viable. See if the content is actually good, or if it's misinformation, or if it's just speculation that someone's trying to put that information out. So that's just a quick look about if aliens exist, but more importantly, the power of influence that a social media, a television station, a news outlet has over the people